Hello, friend. It's Mark out on the back 40, and this is a whole episode that's going to be different than we've ever done before. This actually has nothing to do with habitat or planning or deer hunting, but it does have to do with helping your soul. And what we are doing out here on our property is we are building a sauna. So I want to go through anybody who's interested in a step-by-step process of building a sauna. This is how you do it. Design, the sauna design. So this is a big part of getting your sauna ready for construction. And I have sat here for quite a while trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how am I going to design this thing? And I have to say, you can absolutely do it yourself. Look around online, look at pictures on YouTube. There's a lot of resources online to help you find a sauna. But what worked best for me was I bought a book from saunatimes.com. The guy's name is Glenn Auerbach, and he has built a lot of saunas before, and he's a great advocate for sauna. And his book is fantastic at helping you go through and figure out what you need for your sauna, how to design your sauna. So I can't recommend that book enough. Or at least hit his website. He's got YouTube channel also, but hit his website, and he writes a blog, and there's a ton of information in all the blogs that he's been writing for. Gosh, I think he's been doing this for 5, 6, 7 years. There's a ton of information there. So saunatimes.com. But you can see I'm sitting here, that's actually where I'm at right now, looking at some pictures, kind of trying to figure things out, because we kind of have I've spent time getting the design all done. What I would suggest to you is get yourself some graph paper. Even if you're not the engineering type, I think just get some graph paper, because it'll help you kind of get some things in your mind and keep things straight. And what my wife Janice and I did is we just sat down and we just started scratching stuff out on a blank piece of paper, trying to figure out kind of the concept is, do we want a hot room? How big do we want the hot room to be? Do we want a cooling room? Because there's the concept that it's not just a hot room and then you go directly outdoors or directly into your heated house. There's what's called a cooling room that you put with these things. So you can sit in a hot room, get really, really hot, 15, 20 minutes. Then you go in this cooling room area and you can sit in there and hang out with friends and, have a pop or a cocktail or something for cool off for 15, 20 minutes. And then you go back in the sauna again for another 15 or 20 minutes. And you do that 3, 4, 5 times and make it an event. And it's a great thing. So how big do you want the cooling room? How big do you want the hot room? How many people do you think you'll use in there? And we have the tendency to always go too big with everything. We always think, oh my gosh, we're going to have a ton of people over. And then the reality is it does actually end up being quite what we thought it was. And even if we do once in a while, 99% of the time, it's probably going to be 2 to 4 people. So we have designed our sauna. What we chose was design it to sit 6 adults fairly comfortably. In the cooling room, the same. It can fit 6 adults fairly comfortably. So, but you need to do that. I just thought I'd kind of give you a quick overview of the resources that we used. Mainly, it was Glenn at saunatimes.com. It was his book that we bought. It was a lot of pictures and videos that we looked at on YouTube and just online in general to try to get an idea. But once we got the idea what we wanted, then we got to the graph paper, started hitting the graph paper and get things scaled out a little more. And then one of the best things that Glenn had us do in his book and his process is to kind of lay it out with no walls or anything there. This is like before you even start. Just lay it out with some 2x4s or a piece of string or something like that, where you're going to put it, and then step inside that goofy little string to just kind of get this idea of the space and what it feels like. I think that's a big part of the design process, is you're going to go from what's in your head onto a rough piece of paper, onto a scaled piece of paper, and then when you go outside to the spot you're actually going to put it and stand there, and the two of you get in there and just start debating with each other, talking about it, you're going to refine your design, and it's going to end up being a great space. So, we're not done yet. We just started the construction, and so the design's not 100% done yet. But as we go, we'll figure out where are the doors going for sure. Where are the windows going? For sure. Like, we have an idea where we think they're going, but we're not really going to finalize it until we get in that rough space and start pointing around and figuring out for sure where we want all these things, even including like windows. Like, how high do you want the windows? Where's the bench going to be so that you have the view you might want? If you're on a lake or something like that and you want a nice view, you got to make sure that you put the window in the right spot for that. So don't underestimate design, but also don't get impatient. You're not going to be able to sit down in one weekend and design your sauna. It's an iterative process. It's going to take you time. You're going to do it on paper. You're going to do it out there. You're actually going to do it during the construction. So if you're the one building it, you'll have the patience to do that. But if you have a builder building it for you, just make sure they know ahead of time that, this is an iterative process. I can't tell you exactly where the windows are going to go yet. You need to frame everything in first. Then my wife and I are going to sit in there where the benches will be. And then I'll tell you for sure where all the windows are going and everything. So enjoy the process, be flexible, and don't feel like you have to have everything done ahead of time. And then one more consideration is a budget. So what is a ballpark idea on what it's going to cost to build something like this? Well, that's like trying to tell you how much it costs to buy a car, how much it costs to buy a house. I mean, you can buy a house for $100 grand, or you can buy a house for $100 million, right? I mean, and it just matters how nice it is and where it's located and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of the same with a sauna. So I want to help you kind of come to an idea on that. So I'm going to share some of the numbers that we have. I think we're putting a wood stove in here. So that was, I think, around $2 grand delivered and all with a few accessories on it, kind of tricked out a little bit. So I think that was about $2 grand. The lumber, I know that the tongue and groove pine and tongue and groove cedar and the cedar for the benches and stuff, all that stuff, that was about $6 grand. And then the framing lumber in here, I don't really know. Gabe, the sauna guy, our builder, he went and purchased that part. I'm going to guess that that's probably in the $1,000 range. So what's that in materials now? We got 6, 7, 8, we're at 9, and then just some miscellaneous stuff. We're reusing a window that's already in here already and doing some of that kind of, it's probably 10 grand in materials. But I'll tell you this, this is going to be a decent sized sauna. I mean, it's 9 feet by about 15 feet. It's got a cooling room. It's got a hot room. We're putting stone behind the stove. And I mean, it's got a lot to it. I think that you could do it for a lot less than that, especially if you just built, I'll say just a hot room. And from the hot room, you walk outside or you walk into your garage or something like that. I think you could get that down. I think you get it less than $5 grand. If you got $2 grand into a good stove, always get a good stove. And then the building materials that you could keep really, really simple, and maybe go get some at some other places and try and get scrap around. I mean, if you could maybe get something in that $5 grand range, but that would be a very Spartan sauna. But it can still get you hot and sweaty and healthy. So, and then of course you can go up to, how much you want to spend, I'm sure. So I think a good budget would be in that $8,000 to $10,000 range would be a good budget to get a nice sauna with a hot room and a cooling room, kind of like a shed. Maybe you'd buy a shed that's done already, which Glenn at Sauna Time suggests you do. And we'll talk about him more in a bit. But that's kind of the idea of a budget. I would say anywhere from $5 grand at the very, very lowest end to 10 grand in materials for a really nice sauna. And then, you can go to 20 and 30 grand in materials for a super duper sauna. And then there's labor on top of that. So we are paying Gabe the sauna guy to do our construction, because I'm not good and I don't have the time to do it. And he's really good at it. This is what he does. He's a builder. And so, we're going to have a few $1,000s in labor for him. So if you could, do it yourself, which Glenn has a book on how to do it yourself, you could save all the labor money and just do it yourself and just take your time. Otherwise, you're going to have some, labor into it too. So that's a rough budget. I hope that helps. Today is the day construction really gets going. You can see you already ripped everything off of the side here. And right where that window is a door is going there. That door is going into the cooling room. So that you've got halfway here, this corner over here, this edge over here is going to be the cooling room. And then the hot room is going to be here. So you can see this is the back of a barn, and we already have an overhang here with supports and a cement slab. So what we're doing is we're building on top of the cement slab. And maybe you have the situation where you're going to be building on a cement slab too. So Glenn had a couple of things that were, I think, very important in doing this floor. So of course you use treated lumber on here, but you can see all these little 2x4s that are little ends of 2x4 screwed on here. Actually, what's going to happen is a 1-inch piece of foam, rigid insulation is going to sit on top in between each of these, and you'll see this in a second. And then that's going to leave an air gap underneath there. So there's going to be an air gap from the floor to the here. The bottom of the foam will be sitting here, and that's going to go up to the top of this joist right here. So there'll be an air gap under here, and then in the end of each of these, drill a hole and put a little vent plug in there. And that's going to allow that this cement, like it's mid-January right now in Michigan, this cement slab is freezing cold. So you can imagine the condensation that is going to happen when there's a hot room sitting on top of it, and there's going to be heat, and then the cold of the cement, well, that airflow in there is going to make it, keep it from getting all funky. So that's kind of the strategy with the flooring right here. Here we are on day 2 of construction. Just more getting the floor in place now. He had to move it down a little bit. And just a lot of cutting boards to length and cutting all the foam, and just a lot of this prep work, all the cutting and all that kind of work that just has to be done. It takes a lot of time. And then all of a sudden you come out here and boom, everything will be up pretty quick. So you can see he's just got the braces on here to help him slide the floor into exact place without making the whole thing go kittywampus. And then here you can see some of the detail of leveling, getting the floor level, because the cement slab has a slope from left to right on it. So he's leveling this, and it'll make the whole thing better. And then just improve that gap, air gap under there, to get circulation underneath all these joists to keep it dry. Then you can see how the floor is put together with a single 2x4 around the edge. Glenn actually is suggesting that you double this, that this should have another 2x4 running here all the way around it, especially in the hot room. Like even if you just do it through here for the hot room, it makes it a much more secure area to build those walls up on top and to attach the drip edge to on the inside. And that's down the road a little bit. You'll get to that later, but that's kind of the idea there. But our builder thought, you know what, he didn't want to do that and kind of had it going already and all designed. So we're going to forego that part. But Glenn does highly suggest, again, right here would be 2 2x4s all the way around. Hello friend, it's Mark in Michigan, and this is the next step in the sauna build. We've got the sheeting on the floor going on, so you can see it's treated plywood, and this kind of gives you a picture over here of what we're doing as far as the rigid foam that is sitting on top here is flush with the top of the joist right there. So you can see how, and then underneath this is the air gap. So that is what's being done here. So this is all being screwed down on top of it. The floor has been leveled. You can see over here how there is actually a gap right here because the cement slab is sloping from up against the wall down as it comes towards us. So to level the floor, it's actually built up a little bit right here. So this gap is under the floor here. So this is the latest and greatest as we continue to march on towards completion. Okay, next day we have the floor finished now. All this down here, and we've got the drain. You can see the drain stubbed in there, just coming out and draining out to wherever. So now what you do on this end will depend on where you live and what your rules are. But I just want to kind of show you the detail here. Just a 2-inch pipe, PVC pipe, 90 degree. Drilled a hole through there and out it goes. Well, here we go. We are starting to get walls, and now things are really starting to come together. You can see we've got the flooring all done, and you've seen the videos of that, but you can start seeing the formation of, the hot room is going to be over here on this side, and towards us here, we're going to be putting a door. We're expanding this. We're taking the window out, putting a door here on the wall over there, and this will be into the cooling room right here. And then from the cooling room, there actually also is going to be a door right here that's going to come out onto this little porch area right here. So we are making progress. And then one of the details that Glenn is wanting to make sure that you're aware of is down here is you can see what we're doing is we're putting a double plate. There's a double 2x4 on here. And so why are you doing a double 2x4 at the bottom plate? And there's two different ways to do this. You could just put a single level on here and then put a stub, a 14.5-inch stub between here. But the idea is you do want to build this up higher than a 2x4. Why do you want to do that? That's a great question. Because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be building, I'll start with the drain right here. You're going to be building a slow incline from the drain up to all the walls, all the way around this. And as you do that, you're going to get to the point where your floor is up above this 2x4, the single 2x4. And then on top of that, you need to attach a little drain, a drip edge that we call it, a drip edge to cover and protect the transition between the flooring and the wall. And so you need to build this up so you have something to nail that drip edge into after you have built up the bottom of the floor so it drains down to this drain here. So I hope that this is making sense, that your floor is actually going to be, and here's my ugly hand, but your floor is actually going to be angled here from the drain up to the edge of the 2x4, or the bottom sill plate, all the way around. And so you need a taller sill plate than normal because things aren't perfectly flat. There's that angle there, and that's going to give you something to nail that drip edge to. Even way this far away from the drain, you'll still have something to nail that drip edge into. So really, you only need to do the double 2x4, the thickness of the sill. I think that's what it's called, the sill, around the hot room. And so you can see our builder, Gabe, did that all the way around the hot room. Two ways to do it. Number one is to put a double 2x4 underneath it, so you see the thickness, or build a standard wall, and then between the 2x4s, put a 14.5-inch 2x4 between these. It doesn't matter how you do it, but somehow you need to build up that taller ledge all the way around the hot room. Now you can see over here in our cooling room, we don't have that in the cooling room. This is just a standard one because you're not going to have that slanted floor, draining floor, nor do you need to ever nail in a drip edge to this floor. This is just a standard flooring. So we're just going to put deck boards, cedar deck boards on here. You don't need a taller ledge right here. So part of the framing that I think I want to point out to you is this right here is the corner. It's hard to tell here. This is the corner where the wood stove is going to go. And you can see how he framed, Gabe the sauna guy, he framed an extra 2x4, or a stud, I guess, right there. Why did he do that? Because to the left of this is going to be the stove, and to the right of this is going to be the benches. Well, right here, we're going to put dry stacked right here, dry stacked stone right here, and then from here to the right is going to be cedar tongue and groove. So he put this extra wide stud in here for the masons to come in and attach their cement board to. And then on this side, Gabe is going to have the something to attach the paneling to. So let's just do a little walk around today. So again, this is where the door is going to get put through that wall. But now you can see the door framed in to go outside. And then, like I said a second ago, we were going to put an L bench in here. It was going to go like this, and or a U bench. But when we actually sat in this space, people would be hitting knees, and these two corners would be completely wasted, totally wasted. So we decided and saw it was way better to put just a bench here and a bench along here with the window right there. So again, it's just great to get into just the four walls, even as they are like this, and really feel the space and how much room you have to move around. And then over here, you're looking into the hot room from here. This is the cooling room right where we are here. That door right there, we actually moved to the right so we could lengthen the bench that's going to go right here. And we also had plenty of room to move the door to the right because our bench in the sauna is going to be over here. So it was perfect. We got to mock it up here before everything's closed in and move the door that way. Made it completely better for the layout. So that you can see the doors are framed. The frame for the candle window is right here. Windows framed. Everything is in its good place and we're ready to go. And we continue to progress here. So now you can see right here and right up here, we're putting in the electrical boxes. So before you close those walls up, make sure you get all the electrical running here. So how we're laying the electrical out, I guess maybe I'll walk through this real quick a second. So what's going to be happening, if you remember, there's going to be a door there. That's where we're going to come in. There's also going to be a door right here that goes outside. So we're going to come in either of these doors. There's an electrical box there that's going to switch the light, the outdoor light right up here. And then this box right here is going to switch on the light that's going to be up here. That box right there will be electric because I'm going to put the stereo up there. So there's also going to be speaker wire that's run to this area. So I'm going to put a little shelf there, electric for the stereo, speaker wire, and there's 2 spots for speakers. There's going to be speakers in this cooling room that I'm standing in right here. So I'll put one in that corner, probably one in the opposite corner, standing straight behind me. And then we're also going to run speaker wire through the walls down here into that corner and into that corner, and right here's where the bench is going to be. Benches are going to go this way right here, and we're going to put speakers underneath there with a special little shelf with maybe a little wooden cover over it to kind of protect them a little bit. So, and then inside the hot room, now we're in the hot room, and up here is going to be another sconce, and this light, that switch right there that actually is in the cooling room, is going to switch on this light here. And there'll also be LED lights somewhere in here, maybe underneath the bench too. So that's going to be on a dimmer and be able to switch lights on and off in the hot room. That one's going to switch the outdoor light on for when it's dark out and we go outside to cool off out here and take a look at the pond out here or whatever. And then the switch over here is going to be controlling the light up here in the cooling room to keep us nice and cool. And then just for fun, because you never know, while the walls are open, we're going to put electric outlets underneath each bench. There's going to be a bench right here. We're going to have electric outlet underneath that one, and also another electric outlet underneath that one. I don't know why, but maybe at some point in time we're going to want that. So this is kind of the latest with the sauna. We're slowly making progress. So one of the things that Glenn said to do was not plan the whole sauna out on a plan view, on a drawing ahead of time, because you kind of want to get into the space and put some windows and doors and figure out where they're going to go later. And being an engineer, I have that linear personality, and maybe you do too, where you want to plan everything and you can see it in little squares on a piece of paper, but that actually was not the way to do it. I'm so glad that Glenn suggested that we do it this way. So we're at the point now where the floor is done, we're getting the walls up now, and so instead of putting the walls up and already framing in the walls, the windows and the doors and where everything's going to go, actually one of the things Glenn said to do was just kind of put the walls up and then figure out where the windows and the doors are going to go, and then just cut them, and use a Sawzall or whatever and cut them. It's pretty simple to reframe. So my wife and I have spent probably an hour and a half or 2 hours out here with some time to look at it and really think about how we're going to use it. And so we're standing in the hot room right now, and you're looking at a wall that we had intended on paper to have a window to look out on. There's a little pond right back here, and here's a little mock-up that I made. I just grabbed a big flat box that, I don't know, a refrigerator or something like that came in, and cut out a 18 by 42 window. And so we just kind of walked around and we held it up and decided where we might think we want to put a window. And we actually ended up deciding that we did not want to put a window in the hot room. Now, I'm not suggesting that to you, but I'm suggesting for us and how we picture and imagine us using the hot room. We don't want a window in the hot room. I mean, we have a view of a pond here, but we'll see that when we're in the cooling room. When we're in the hot room, we kind of want to control the light and stuff. Plus, our wood stove is going right here, and we wouldn't have as much room because we're doing brickwork up here, so which we thought, oh, we're going to put a window here, and separately we thought we were going to put brickwork here, and then we came out and held this up, and well, that's not going to work because there's brick going all the way up there. So it really helps you when you have the walls up to then go around and figure out where you're going to put doors and windows. And so I just kind of wanted you to see the mock-up of what we did. Maybe you could do something like this, and then just come out and we mocked up the benches. We kind of drew them out on the floor, and we laid some 2x4s down. We sat on some lawn chairs to kind of get an idea of where you would be sitting and what it would look like and what the view would be, and to get the windows on the right angle. Now over here in our hot room, and I'll turn this a little bit. Over here in the hot room, we did end up putting windows in here, and it was great that we sat down in here on where the benches are going to be to kind of figure out exactly where the window was going to be. If I had just done what my design was, the window would have been too high. When you're sitting on the bench, you wouldn't have been able to see out there, and you would have seen the wrong angle. So we kind of adjusted the window around a little bit there too. And this right here is the door for to come into the hot room. We completely changed around the design in the cooling room because of all of this. So what we're doing, we completely changed around the benches. It's way more efficient. And by changing the benches around, the windows and the doors moved into different locations. And I'm just suggesting to you that you don't really feel that until you're in the space. It's hard to picture it on a piece of paper. And even as you know, I have the pretty good ability to spatially see things. I still, once I got into a space like this, and this is probably for you too, even if you think you're good at that, I still think it's better to build the walls and then figure out where you're going to put the doors and the windows and the benches, and then start building to that. So that was a great suggestion from Glenn. And the next phase, preparing for the roof system. So you can see we got everything set up, ready to go up there, all the way across into the cooling room, across here, and even mounted up on here. All right, next item, you can see he's got the ceiling put on, or the roof. Maybe it'd be a roof at this point, not the ceiling. But there's kind of some of the detail on that. We are finally getting here. You can see we've got the window in here now, and we're starting the insulation. This is going to be insulated too, but there'll be cement board here. Right here's where the stove is going, and this will be stone, stacked stone up there. But here's kind of the insulation. Pretty simple stuff. If you remember, we've got the floor is insulated too underneath, and we've got insulation up above. So over this is going to go the vapor barrier. So that is on the way. This wall is already insulated, so we don't have to do anything with that except cover it up. Now you can see we're moving into the floor system, and this is what's going underneath the floor so that the water will not penetrate anything. And all these slats are on an angle. I don't know if here, I'll get closer to see if you can see how thick this one is here. You can see how thick this is right here, and then it slowly gets thinner and thinner and thinner as you go down there, and the drain is right there. So what's going to happen is all of this is cement board. You can see right there, he's got the hole right here, and this is going to allow us to have a well-supported floor that's completely waterproof, that slants down to the drain and goes outside, and you've seen that before. So this is kind of what it looks like. There are various ways of doing this, but I believe this is the way that Glenn thinks is the best way to get a fully supported floor that is completely waterproof and will last a long time. Each of these slats is stapled down and also glued, so it is very firmly attached to the bottom board there, the treated board. Yeah, you can even see some of the glue squirting out of this spot right there. So yeah, so it's very firm. All right, today is a good day. Now we've got the as we walk in here, you can see today Gabe got the thin set on the floor in the hot room. And today was a day for the ceiling. See the ceiling in the cooling room? Got the tongue and groove done on that. While we're still waiting for the thin set to set. But we did have a visitor. Check this out. I'm guessing the squirrel kid took a trip through here. Little bugger. But we got a hold of the mason for this spot over here. And he's getting the dry stack on order. And we'll be getting going on this pretty soon too. And now it is time for the next phase. Getting the vapor barrier up. So you can see Gabe has been in here and he's just putting up all this silver vapor barrier. And let's see, a close up here is a staple right here. And then he's not done with it yet, but this seam right here, you can see right here is a seam. There's tape, some magic tape somewhere that he's going to be putting up. So I'll just show you a little bit about how he did it. You know, he went in this direction. You can see he went down from the ceiling with a little bit of it like that to seal the corner. Right here is where the stove is going through, so that part's not done yet. And then I'm going to, hopefully I don't get you sick, but I'm going to go down towards the floor down here. And I'll show you a little bit of detail down here with a drip edge. So you can see right here is what they call a drip edge. It's a piece of aluminum. It's just a little L. Normally they put it up on a roof. And it seals off the edge of the roof. Well, in this case, what we're doing is we're using it. Glenn's smart idea. Glenn's got experience. He knows this stuff. The wood is going to go over this barrier, but water could get behind this and then go down this vapor barrier and hit here. Now, if this vapor barrier wasn't here, there would be an opportunity for water to settle right here and go that way underneath this piece of wood. Or it could get behind it and get behind here. Either way, this is completely eliminating the ability for water to get in through here in any way. So now the water comes down. It can't go that way because the drip edge is here. It can only go this way. And you can see there's a little bit of caulk right there too. So this is caulked down. And again, if you go back to the flooring, or when we put the walls up, there are two 2x4s here. Two 2x4s tall. Now you see why. Because it made it easier to put this drip edge on here and attach it. And it's got support here. So there's support all the way around too high for this. And then the wood, the paneling wood, the slats of wood are going to go here. And it'll be down to the floor, but water can't get through there. So it's just another way of sealing this floor and walls and ceiling and get it all a really good seal on it. So one of the things I want to show you is we had a little bit of problem with the floor right here. You can see how it wasn't supported real well right there. And I think what happened was it was too cold. I mean, it was probably somewhere between 10 and 15 degrees when we put this in. We tried to keep it a little bit warm in here, but must not have been nearly warm enough. And it just never really set up really good. So we're going to do it again, skim another coat on there, and this time it's going to be warmer out. All right, and we continue to make progress here. Now we're getting the paneling on the cooling room here. So we're waiting in the hot room here. See, he's got all the vapor barrier on, but we are waiting on the mason right now to get that going. So in the meantime, Gabe slickied in here and he got all this done today. And we continue to move on today. A new contractor has showed up on site. Now we've got the mason made it on site. So you can see his work table he's got going here and where he got started on the dry stack. So how does this look? Well, you can see here we got the vapor barrier on, and then they put the cement board over the vapor barrier, and then you can see they're putting the cement and then the dry stack on there. So this dry stack takes quite a long time to
I mean, it's a lot of little pieces, and you're trying to put a puzzle together, so it's not exactly the easiest thing to do, but they're making some progress on it. The other thing that I don't know if you can see under this here is the base that is going to be for the wood stove. So these are 16 by 16 patio blocks, patio pavers, I guess they call them. So the wood stove is going to be sitting right on that. So this is the process. And as they work their way up, eventually they are going to poke a hole through there. That's why there's no insulation in there yet, is because they got to poke a hole through there. That's where the smokestack is going to go out there. We're not going through the ceiling on this one. It's too complicated up there. So we're coming up, going at a 30-degree angle through the wall, and then we'll go out through the eave and up on the outside of the roof line. The mason got a little bit more done today. This stuff takes a long time. This dry stack stuff, I mean, that is 2 days, 2 full days of work for a very experienced mason. So if you're doing this dry stack kind of stuff, it takes a long time, and so labor is pretty intensive, and if you're paying somebody else, I'll say expensive. But as soon as they get this built up to the top of the cement board here, then next week they're going to put the hole through here for the smokestack. And so they'll get the stack put in, and then they'll finish putting that the rest of the way up. Okay, next day. We have pretty much all the paneling in the cooling room done. I think it was that way already. But got some cedar on the roof in the hot room. And they have figured out what they're doing to go through the wall with the chimney. We're not going to go through the ceiling, too complicated with where we are. We're going through the wall, so I'll explain that more as we go. But that's kind of what the masons and the builder kind of had to get figured out today. So that's the next thing. Next day, you can see they are starting to get the dry stack around. They put the box in. So this is the collar that's going to go through the wall. The stovepipe is going to come up in here. So you saw yesterday they had the 2x4 box around there. Now they've set that in there, and you can see how he's cutting the stone and getting it all laid around there real nice. So he also added the cement board up above. It goes all the way up to the ceiling now, and they're just going to work their way through this now. So we are making progress, but it was so cold this morning. We had to put a little sheet of this on the door. It was 11 degrees out this morning. So the mason couldn't come in here and start laying this because everything would freeze. It doesn't stick. So we closed it, put a little heater in here, and I'll swing you around here. There's a little space heater in here, just trying to keep things warm enough so that they can make progress. But that's what today was. And now all the stone is done. So stone all the way up to the ceiling is done now, you can see. Next step is going to be to finish trimming out the sides here and then start throwing the paneling on. So you can see what you got to remember to do. I don't think I mentioned this yet, and I'm looking here. Okay, so here's the seam on the between two pieces of the foil. You got to remember to tape this. So it is taped. He taped it behind here. Oh yeah, right here. Yeah, he's got some tape there. You can see right here. Tape. Pretty simple, right? It's just this aluminum foil tape. And now we have the walls on. So we got the paneling on all the walls and the window cutout. So we again are making progress. A few details to try to hammer out in time. I don't know if you can see in these little cracks right here, you can see the shiny foil through there. So we'll see how that ends up looking. The trim, what are we gonna do to trim the corners here? We're just gonna put a 1x4 board across the top. Down here, we're still trying to figure out how we wanna do that, make it look good. We got tempered glass that I ordered from a local glass company to put in there, and then we'll just frame it around, and it's fixed. It's not gonna open or anything. It's just gonna be a fixed window. And I think that's probably about it for any kind of details in here. Now we're starting to make some good progress. It's like building the foundation takes time and then it goes really fast. But you see, just yesterday we got down all the cedar decking boards and also started building the benches. Now Gabe, the sauna guy, is designing these benches so that there's not a lot of support hanging out under where you might stub your toe or hit your feet while you're coming in and out of the sauna. So isn't that a great design? So you can see what he's kind of done here. Here's some detail of it. You see he's got the rib around the inside down set so that when you set those 2x4s in it, it's flush. So you can kind of see what that looks like, which I think just looks fantastic, and it's solid as a rock. We also got the trim done. Now you can do different ways. You can do trim. You can cut the 45-degree angle, and you could overhang this a ½ inch. I mean, there's a lot of different looks you can do. That's just the look that we decided we wanted. And then in the room here, in the hot room, and there's not a lot of light in here, but if you remember the last video, I kind of talked about the floor. We had to redo the floor, and you can see the little heater right here. It worked this time. The floor set really well. So what I think the takeaway is that when the first time we did the floor, we did the thin set when it was probably about, I don't know, 10 or 15 degrees out, and that's degrees Fahrenheit, and that's, I think, led to not a great set. And so it's up in the 30s now. Plus this room is insulated, it's finished, and you can see we put the heater in there and covered the doors up with this. And so it was warm enough in there, and we got a really good set on it that time. So we are moving and making progress. And here we are next day. We have our door in. This is our outside door. So that's really nice, makes a big difference. And you see, started getting some trim on here. We've got that bench built, which it was yesterday, but now this bench here is finished. And working on a few details on the floor, which might not necessarily mean much to you in your situation, but we're just working on some details on getting the floor finished right here, because we're going into, this is gonna be a door that goes into our barn right here. So, yeah, continue to make progress. Now we've got the stovepipe we got to get done and get that stove in there and kind of get this thing wrapped up. Well, we're getting closer, aren't we? So today, Gabe got these benches put in. So this is really nice. There's this bench put in, and yeah, prior to today, these were not in, and they're pretty rock solid. And what's neat about this is you can see underneath here, there's no bracing. So it's like they're almost like a cloud. They're just hanging there. And even on the bottom one here that tees in, you can see right there, there's no bracing under there. And they're really, really solid too. So we're liking it. Now we just need heat. We just need a stove and a ductboard floor here. And the window in, or the door in, and then we're ready to go. And we laid down just regular old patio blocks, 16-inch by 16-inch, and the wood stove is going to be sitting on that. So the next day or two, the mason's going to be back, and he's going to help put the pipe in there. And once the pipe gets going, we'll get the stove in here, and then we're getting close. And we have a doorway into our shop now. So we finally had a chance to pop that through. So that just got done today. Did have a minor setback, and that there was a Romex going through here. So we had to go splice in and go up around and back down to keep it going. But you can kind of see what it looks like from this angle here. The door is going to be just like this door going into our shop here, which we'll fix up a little bit more, make it a little nicer. Then if we scoot in here, one little thing that got done in here today was trim. So you can see the trim up here all around the top and in the corner. So here's a close-up of the detail of it. I thought he did a really good job. He cut that on a 45-degree angle for that corner piece. I think it looks really good. All right, and today, what did we get done today? Well, we got this window put in right here. So you can see all this is 1/4 inch tempered glass. And then, you know, the hole was there and then just framed around the hole. Left a little bit of a wider shelf here so we can set a candle there. So that's probably 3.5 or 4 inch shelf right there. Move in here. Gabe somehow managed to get this 400-pound stove in here by himself. Him and a 2-wheel cart. Somehow he made it work. I don't know, but now you can see the window over there, waiting for the pipe to go in. We are getting close. We also have paneling on this wall. We have this door installed now, so you can kind of get a better idea what it looks like into the, well, I guess we'll call it the shop right now, but at some point, you know, we'll fix this up a little bit nicer so it's not a shop anymore. And it'll be more of a entertaining, relaxing type kind of area. And today we are done. So I'm just going to kind of give the overall view of the final product. So you can see we got the doors in now. So the only thing that really needs to be done is we need to seal. This is pine. You can see it's under the overhang, but it is pine, so I am going to put an oil sealer on it. Yesterday I used the sauna and came out here on the cement. You can see the cement right there, and dumped water on us, and that was all really cool, but our feet were freezing. So if you're in a northern climate and you plan on stepping out onto cement, I know I'm dumb, right? I should have known that. But so I took a bunch of scrap we had left over and laid down all these cedar deck boards so our feet aren't freezing. So anyway, so you come in here, the cooling room, cedar boards on the bottom, pine boards on the walls and the ceiling. We've got our benches in here to sit on. We've got our window to cool it off. Light switch here for the light outside on a dimmer. 2 light switches there for 2 lights inside, both on dimmers. And a switch right here for the light right there, also on a dimmer. To finish off lighting, right there is our candle window. So when it's dark in the wintertime, we'll be putting a candle right here and that'll light everything up. So this is our cooling room. It's 7 foot by 9 foot. Here's the door that goes into our, what Glenn calls our mega lounge, but we got to fix this all up yet. So, but at least it's getting going. And then we step, this door we actually ended up buying on Amazon. We found one finally for sale, and we got that. It was not inexpensive, but it moved the project along really fast, so we got that to get done. So there's the door, and we step into the cooling room. All cedar everywhere in here, ceiling, sides, benches, 2x4s. The duct floor, also made by Gabe, the sauna guy. He's a great, if you're in West Michigan and you need a sauna made, or you're looking at doing this, you should message me and I'll get you Gabe's number. Gabe does a fantastic job. He did a great job on this. And then we just laid decking boards down on the thin set back there just to cover it up, make it look nice. Up here you can see the vent. Always got to put vents in. Go to Glenn's website, saunatimes.com, to get the trim there. Yep, window, ladle, the stove. So let's talk about the stove for a second. This is a Kuma brand stove. You can see right there, Kuma. And this stove is amazing. I've been heating my house with wood for 20 years, and I have a different brand of stove in there. It's a really nice stove. It's soapstone, so it's got a lot of mass to it, but it doesn't burn nearly as nice as this. This is just amazing. This stove weighs 400 pounds. That gives you an idea of the heft of this. Now, when you shop for wood stoves to put in your sauna, you should look at the weight of the one that you're looking at, because I looked at another one, a manufacturer somewhere in the Midwest was another one. It's a nice manufacturer. They've been around for a long time. I think their stove weighed maybe 150 or 200 pounds. So I can just tell you the difference in the heft of the stove. And then you can look at some of the ones online on Amazon. Those things, gosh, they weigh 50 pounds. You can pick them up with one hand. So how long do you think those are going to last? So this is a great stove. And we did break it in. When you get a stove, burn it if you can before you bring it inside. Burn it outside, because all the paint and the manufacturing chemicals are on the outside, and it stinks. I mean, it was so hot in here, or so bad in here, that it was burning my eyes. So after yesterday, we got it all burned off and got it going now, and everything's good now. So it's nice. So it's done. It's done. The sauna is done. Now we just have to trick it out a little bit. Maybe I'll do a final video on how we kind of ended up tricking it out and how to actually take a sauna, in case you haven't really ever done it before, a real sauna. But I think that's everything that I needed to go over right now. So it's done. Thanks for watching.